Did you know that Africa's exports have shifted dramatically in recent years? It's no longer just about oil or gold. What's growing fastest today are critical minerals and agricultural products that once played only a marginal role. But the striking part isn't only what is being traded, it's who controls it. Behind plantations, mines, and energy projects, it's not always African governments, but foreign states, investment funds, and above all, China. And they are all after the same thing: control over the continent's strategic resources. Welcome to the secret race to buy Africa. Africa as the last great resource frontier. Africa is often described as the planet's last great resource frontier. It has 65% of the world's uncultivated arable land, more than 30% of global mineral reserves: cobalt, coltan, lithium, gold, uranium. And most valuable of all, a young and growing population that by 2050 will account for 1 in 4 people on Earth. But behind this optimistic narrative lies a much darker reality. What is happening looks like a new version of colonialism, though now under another name: land grabbing. The 2008 food crisis. In 2008, during the global food crisis, rice and wheat prices skyrocketed. Import-dependent countries like Saudi Arabia and South Korea began looking to Africa. Within months, multi-million-dollar contracts were signed to lease millions of hectares in Ethiopia, Sudan, and Madagascar. One of the most controversial cases was in Madagascar. The South Korean company Daewoo negotiated the lease of 1.3 million hectares of fertile land, almost half the size of Belgium, to produce corn and palm oil, destined for Korea, not Madagascar. The deal sparked such a backlash that it helped topple the government. That was only the beginning. The 3 major blocks. Today, the main players in this race are 3 blocks. China, with its Belt and Road Initiative, which not only builds roads and ports, but secures mining, agriculture, and energy contracts in exchange for infrastructure. Since 2009, China has been Africa's largest trading partner. More than 10,000 Chinese companies already operate on the continent. According to the Land Matrix, foreign investors have acquired more than 50 million hectares worldwide since 2000, much of it in Africa. Estimates suggest 35 to 50 million hectares in Africa alone. Among the top actors, Chinese companies stand out. Between 2011 and 2020, they controlled about 6.5 million hectares globally, more than firms from the US, UK, or Japan. China's investments are not limited to buying land. Beijing is building the entire ecosystem to guarantee access: railroads, ports, dams, highways, all financed with Chinese loans, often repayable in natural resources. The Gulf countries, especially Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, seeking to ensure their food security by growing in Africa what they cannot grow at home. Western investment funds and corporations, which see Africa as an opportunity to speculate on land and water, buying rights that tomorrow may be worth more than oil. The World Bank already warned in 2009 that around 46 million hectares of large-scale farmland acquisitions had been announced, 2/3 in Africa. But what is most striking is that no actor has invested as much, as fast, and with as much strategy as China. Deals in the shadows. Here is the real secret. Many of these acquisitions are not made in public. The contracts are opaque, signed between local governments and foreign companies without consulting the communities that live on that land. In Ethiopia, Uganda, and Mozambique, thousands of families have been displaced without proper compensation, losing access to land they had used for generations. What official documents call development and foreign direct investment often means forced evictions, loss of food sovereignty, and dependence on foreign powers. And while Gulf countries or Wall Street funds take part in this process, it is China that sets the pace, combining investment, diplomacy, and even the training of local elites. Development? At what cost? Not everything is negative. Some projects bring infrastructure, jobs, and access to agricultural technology. In Rwanda, partnerships with European funds have boosted coffee production for export. And in Kenya, Chinese investments have financed highways and dams that electrified rural areas. But the question is, at what cost? In many cases, African countries receive immediate income, 30 or 50-year contracts, while investors secure benefits that multiply over time. It is an unequal exchange. Bread today, hunger tomorrow. Looking ahead. The race for Africa will not stop, and if there is one actor willing to lead it to the end, it is China. Climate change. As melting and desertification hit Central Asia and China itself, Beijing looks to Africa as its future breadbasket. Chinese agricultural companies grow rice in Mozambique, corn in Zambia, and soybeans in Tanzania. Much of that production does not stay in Africa. It goes directly to Chinese ports. Energy transition. China dominates the global supply chain for batteries and solar panels, and it knows Africa holds the most critical minerals. Around 70% of the world's cobalt is mined in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and over 40% of that is controlled by Chinese companies. Without that cobalt, there are no electric cars. In Zimbabwe, Beijing is also securing contracts to exploit lithium, another key mineral. Demographic explosion. China wants not only minerals or food, it also sees Africa as its future market. With more than 2.5 billion people in 2050, Africa will be the most populated continent. And Chinese companies, from Huawei to Alibaba, are already positioning themselves to dominate telecommunications, digital commerce, and manufacturing. A new economic colonization. In the 19th century, Europe divided Africa at the Berlin Conference. Today, we do not see maps with red lines, but the logic is the same. Instead of armies, come lease contracts. Instead of flags, come conditional loans. Instead of gunboats, come shipping containers with machinery and legal clauses impossible to break. The difference is that this time, the most visible flag is not British or French. It is Chinese. An academic summed it up this way. The 21st century will have two parallel stories: the rise of Africa and the attempt by others to seize that rise. We are not talking about conspiracies. We are talking about numbers, contracts, and measurable agreements. And in that equation, China is not just a participant, it is the leader. By 2050, when Africa becomes the demographic and economic heart of the planet, we will look back and see these decades as the moment when its path was defined. Will it be a continent in control of its destiny, able to use its resources to build internal prosperity? Or will it be remembered as the place where China and others rewrote the rules of colonialism, now disguised as investment? Because today, the decisions are not made in the fields of African farmers, but in Beijing's boardrooms. And every contract signed is a piece of Africa's future, changing hands. Subscribe for more videos like this, and tell me in the comments, do you think Africa will be able to write its own destiny? Or is it already being written by others like China?